All right. How do we have to position ourselves? All right. It's the guys from History Reloaded. Today we want to show you how to create a YouTube short. And we thought we also might add a small challenge, which is can he create a YouTube short in 2 hours? So it's kind of like in a cooking show because we already prepared the narration, the assets, namely the images and the videos. I wrote the script off screen, and basically now we wanted to show you how the recipe looks. And I will start by giving you some quick insights into the preparation. And then afterwards, my partner will guide you through his working process, which he can describe afterwards. And yeah, I think I'll dive right in. Yeah, we were very well prepared. So, just for you to have some context, what happened before, Victor will start with the editing in his tools. So, this is Figma, and this is where all the magic happens. So, as you can see, there is also a previous short. There is the recent short, which we are working on today, and they all follow the same logic. They are built up in scenes. So we have scene 1, scene 2, and so on. And what I prepare for Victor as a starting point is a reference image, which later you will see is actually a video, and the according text. So with every scene, there's a text that goes along with it. And this is so Victor knows how he has to time the scenes. Also, as you can see, there's a big library of images that are already prepared. So this is the AI images, which I create in ChatGPT. And kind of like a cook, the prompts and the process there is kind of my secret sauce. So I won't reveal that, at least today. But as you can see, I will just drag and drop the images to the according scene in Figma. And what I also did for this YouTube short, which is kind of new, we've never really done that before. I mean, for the last video and the shorts we did together with that, we had some, small videos that we created with Midjourney, but the quality there was not very satisfying. But for this new short, we tried out a new AI tool, and the results are way better. So, long story short, I took the images, put them into the video AI tool, and I already provided them to Victor, so he will work with them afterwards. And yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, as you can see, maybe this is also interesting. Apart from the short, this is how a bigger project actually looks like. Without going into detail, I'm just waiting until Victor comes back to give you some idea how we tackle a project generally. So there is like a research part where we define the main story. We have a scene plan. We have first sketches of the scenes, so how they're gonna look like. And also source images, source texts. We also have links to the soundtracks that we use. By the way, we use Artlist for our soundtracks. The soundtracks we already prepared for this short as well. And After that, you can see that we start building up the scene. So it's basically the same process as with the short, with the only difference that the long format videos take a lot longer and way much effort. And yeah, so I think actually it's Victor's turn to show you now how he uses the groundwork, basically the foundation that I created, and how he will now try to create a short in less than 2 hours. So Victor, I hand it over to you and let's go.
Yeah, so basically I start every short in After Effects. It's overall not the best tool to cut a project, cut a clip or a movie or whatever. But for shorts where you use a lot of animations and a lot of transitions, effects, and so on, it's kind of like a trade-off. So the cutting is not that bad. You're still working in layers, but yeah, overall it's easier for FX and transitions and so on. So I'm gonna build up the short. The basic short I'm gonna build in After Effects, and then I'm gonna load it into Premiere, where I do the sound effects and the music. Alright, so we already have a few of our clips which we're gonna use downloaded. I'm just gonna drag them to my project. And we also have our voiceover we're gonna use for this short. Drop in, make a few folders so this is sorted. Right, then we make a composition for our battle tales, call it. Real Bard. Format for the YouTube short, which is an 80 to 20. Set the top. 20, so we have some room. Yeah, no, so basically I'm just gonna watch the script, what Alex did, and place our raw material.
This is Napoleon's Imperial Guard. Single-handedly turned the tide in a battle. This is Napoleon.
Open the waveform so we can see where Alex actually is talking. Oh, this is just for control. I'm gonna delete this later and add it back into Premiere. This is just to know where I have to put my footage in. Napoleon's Elite Force, Imperial Guard.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action.
Sing a lot.
This.
Oh, that's not the right. Sorry. Now we cooking. Oh, we have to reset the time. Little bit of leeway.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. This is Napoleon. This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard.
So we're just gonna put it in order now. We don't add any effects or anything right now. Have the whole thing before we start editing. Take this old fella.
These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely
historical images, which we're gonna use. Combination with the videos.
tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger
this is where we probably, yeah, here we're gonna add some zoom ins, Napoleon, and then the Imperial Guard on the background. Probably do a sumo transition on Napoleon and his horse. And as you can see, this won't gonna some more information here. Lose him in the picture. Probably just gonna make a short, smooth transition, right? So we can see all the Imperial Guardists.
Imminent danger.
Russian Grenadiers.
When Russian soldiers of the soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French line.
So
5th Division broke. Broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post.
this is why After Effects is so important in this. Because animating in Premiere is a pain in the ass, and here can use like the whole full HD image to create some camera movement, some fake camera movement pretty easily. If I just pan this, so I have more to see in the picture than just 1080 of 1080 1920 format.
Division broke through the French lines. In immediate proximity to the French command post. In immediate proximity to the French command post, Napoleon himself. Napoleon himself. Post. Napoleon himself.
himself.
We have Charange-Coignet, Grenadier, Imperial Guard.
Jean Range-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled. We shouted, "Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!" And our grenadier... and our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single fell upon the Russian guard, and our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets.
Oh. I just have that. Yeah.
Bayonets without firing a single shot. Bayonets without firing a single shot. Grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée.
Right. Stark.
They would give their lives.
The basic.
Would give their lives for their dear emperor.
Right. We're gonna add some just for looks and feels. Sabine, glaube ich schon. Streams.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post, Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled, "We shouted, 'Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!' And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot." The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their dear emperor. This is Napoleon's elite force.
It's good.
This is Napoleon's elite force.
And now we go to editing. First, I wanna add what I would add Premiere. Color correct. That is weird. We have no happening. The others. What's this one? I can add it later. See if I can enhance atmosphere. Adjustment layer for this one. Adjustment layer is basically just a mask I put over the original clip, and every effect or every editing I put on this layer is affecting the layers below. I just put it above this one. No other clip will be affected, but let's see. Winterish feeling.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, Even though Napoleon
Alright. We build our first tradition. First, we want it's on Napoleon.
even though Napoleon rarely put them to action.
Hmm. If I should build the transitions in Premiere or in... I mean, we can... Camera of the picture here anyway, so we're gonna... Here.
Napoleon rarely put them to action. Even though Napoleon rarely put
Position. So we make a keyframe here. Have this position. Drag it so it holds position with a slight movement till the point where I want to change the subject of the image.
put them to action.
Split.
Rarely put them to action. Not so with
So at this point we switch perspective onto the Imperial Guard, and with this curve I want to have a fast movement at the beginning and then it slows down.
rarely put them to action. Not so with ILO.
And so the picture doesn't stand still. I'm gonna add a slight zoom. Over the whole duration. Just a slight.
Even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with even though Napoleon
Less of. Let's try this.
even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so
Better.
rarely put them to action. Not so with
Yeah,
Ayla.
it's more movement. It feels more natural. Hi, Couch Star. You doing? All right. Here we want a slight pan movement because we lose focus on the Emperor, on the right horse. We're just gonna animate the clip. Duration. Linearly.
Not so with Eylau, where
So
their
we
emperor
fake
was in
a
imminent danger
small
when Russian soldiers
camera
of the
pan
5th Division
movement.
broke. So with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russia
Even a bit more.
Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th
Let's also do a pan. I'm gonna do that a lot because we have a lot of full HD pictures, a lot of action. And though sometimes can't use every picture because AI fucks it up a little bit.
when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke. When Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke.
That is better. Gonna do the same here.
Soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity.
And we're gonna do the same thing here. Just have to check which part of the picture we wanna use. Or if every section of the picture is animated picture is usable. Lord.
In immediate proximity. In immediate proximity to the French command post. In immediate proximity to the French command
Rusty. A lot of white in the. Also Anisha. Who's in charge? Chat communication. Kanske.
Immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon
Early.
command post. Napoleon himself post. Napoleon himself.
Kind of. You want to have a small section. It's in quickly. Curve. Again, if we put it, we move the hand like this, right? Oh, to the left. See the movement? It's here at its peak, then it slows down. This is
Napoleon himself. Napoleon himself.
Now we're gonna this one.
Napoleon himself. Napoleon himself.
It's barely visible, but you can see it at the start. It's more like it's more for the feel and for the atmosphere. You don't really see it, but you feel it. It's more natural.
Himself. Jean Roche-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled. Grenadier of the Imperial Guard recalled. We shouted, "Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!"
So on the pan again, just a small, because this is not the full HD format. This is 1000. Das kommt drauf. What?
We shouted, "Forward!"
Right, let me check if it's also the better feed they have. Sliding quickly.
Recalled. We shouted, "Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!" And our grenadier.
Leave it for now. Always depends also on the action, what is happening in the picture. If you want a smooth animation of the picture, or if you want a more fast looking animation. Here, nothing quick is happening in the shot, so we're gonna have to add a little small pan. There.
And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without
A little bit more happening in this one.
without firing a single shot. The soldiers of the Imperial
Start with this pioneer. Cool. Good axe.
The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's
This one's just fine.
Grande Armée. They would give their lives.
Then needed. Now as the last picture we have Emperor.
Empereur.
Vive l'Empereur. Start with this. Zoom out. So see. Board.
They would give their lives for their dear emperor. This.
All right.
Their lives for their dear emperor.
Good. Watch the whole thing again.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post, Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled, "We shouted, 'Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!' And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian Guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot." The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their dear emperor.
Okay.
There's
Yeah,
can we try out? Opera.
Without firing a single shot. Without firing a single shot. The
Let's try. Quicker zoom out. Wild key.
the bayonets without firing a single shot.
That's better.
The soldiers of the Imperial
Right. Some base animation on layers. And add 3D camera. So I've made all the layer 3D. See, we have camera. Gonna. This is more like it's just a try and error.
This is Napoleon's This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard.
In a meme. Okay. So, what I want to do here, let the picture past camera. Natural transition into the next frame. Or the next layer.
Imperial Guard.
This guy. Start into the frame. Counter movement. Let's see how this.
Imperial Guard. This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could
Let's make it zoom. Movement. So just a little subtle zoom.
Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the
And we could next transition. I want to have a sideway transition because we have this movement here from right to left. This guy to this direct. I want this picture come from side. It's also quicker. Just order so it rather below the other layer and not above it.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though
And add some more movement.
single-handedly turn the tide in a
Oh.
battle.
All I need is a zoom.
Single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely battle, even though
Hmm.
even though Napoleon rarely put them to action.
Okay. So we're gonna delete the key here. The scale. And we're gonna do it all the 3D camera.
Even though Napoleon
rarely put
even though Napoleon rarely
put
them Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau.
Correct camera.
Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French
lines in immediate
when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity
A little bit more movement here. Guy's just falling very weirdly.
in immediate proximity to the French
Alright, it's not that bad.
French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon
What do you think?
not so with Eylau,
We
where
need
their
transitions here.
emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon himself.
I mean, maybe I just, yeah.
Not so at Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the
Oh, they. Complete. Rip. So short coffee break. Take 5 minutes of my 2 hours to make.
Have you leave? Oh, I can take over, although not sure what I can talk about. Maybe I can go back to Figma. So generally, and I think this is true for the whole channel, at least it was the idea. I find it so fascinating that you can bring historic images, but not even images, history itself, to the present times, like shot as you were there, basically. And this was actually the general idea behind this channel. Because when I'm reading books about that time period, or any time period for that matter, I felt like I was always lacking this sort of connection to it, you know? So for me, the ideal history book would have been some, like, the hard history, which I'm totally interested in, combined with some kind of graphic novel, but not graphic novel in the sense that it's a comic, but with nice illustrations, or if possible, even real life footage. And that's generally the idea behind the stuff that we do. And well, generally when I create these images, I'm always like astonished. For example, if we look at this guy here, I'm astonished at how good AI has become at making you feel like you were really there, like you have all the details. Of course, it's not 100% historically accurate, but even for me, the errors in it are almost invisible, or not noticeable. Yeah, so maybe just so much. I think Victor is back and he will take over again.
Back. Your friends. Yeah, we wanted to build the transition here. What we're gonna do is we just gonna we did before. Just gonna let this slide with a lot of motion blur.
Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke.
Same. I'll do the same here, and with the next one too. It's just always a few frames, 5 or 6 frames. I mean, you could also you can do this all in Premiere with some resets, but I like doing it all in After Effects because it gives me all the control I want. The 3D camera, the animation on the picture itself,
Broke through the French line.
and it basically does the same thing. Just more control.
In immediate proximity.
Sequence of 3 similar transitions.
In immediate proximity.
Okay.
In immediate proximity to the French command post, Napoleon himself.
Camera zoom here. Napoleon himself. Just look.
Napoleon himself. Napoleon himself. Post. Napoleon himself. To the French command post. Napoleon himself. Jean-Roch Coigny.
Here. Zoom out.
Not so at Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon himself. Jean-Roch Coigny, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled. We shouted, We shouted, "Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!" And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced. soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the
finest, and among the fiercest and most
experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their
So here we're gonna do 4. Do it all with the camera.
They would give their lives for their would give their lives for their dear emperor. Give their lives for their dear emperor.
Oh. Oh.
Give their lives for their would give their lives for their would give their lives for their dear their lives for their dear emperor. Their lives for their dear emperor.
All right.
This is Napoleon's elite force. This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French. In immediate proximity to the in immediate proximity in immediate proximity to the
French command post.
Napoleon himself. Jean-Roch Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard.
So here. So
Jean-Roch Coignet, a grenadier of the
Imperial Guard.
recalled. We shouted, "Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!" And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their dear Emperor.
alright. This looks fine so far. Oh, we save that. Draw it into Premiere. Premiere, we're gonna do the sound effect. Oh. The sound of our voice or the sound of the software? Again, it's checked for. Okay.
Louder.
I think I need to speak louder. Okay. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I'm gonna speak up. So basically, we used the soundtrack we had before. Before it was just for Control in the After Effects file, and in Premiere we're gonna add. This is the same soundtrack as before. And pull it down a little bit, and now we have to add the voiceover again. We're gonna listen.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so at Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post, Napoleon himself. Jean-Roch Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled,
Wait, I have my, yeah. Too loud.
"This is
Yeah,
Napoleon's elite force,
I have all my
the
effects
Imperial..."
on. I have my voiceover effects. These two layers here,
"This
and of course, if the music is there, it's getting way over edited.
is Napoleon's elite force, the Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of
Alright. Now we're gonna start adding the sound effects. We're gonna need a lot of room here. So first I want to start with the transition sounds. Yes. Sure. All right, maybe you're gonna hear the sound of my keyboard a little bit, but I think it's better overall if it's louder.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard
Okay. So we already have a lot of transition sounds and sound effects overall gathered for the main video, of course. And now we're gonna just use a couple of those.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard.
To guide these transitions.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard.
So every time there is a transition, gonna add in
Could single-handedly
one of those effects to emphasize the transition.
turn the tide in a battle. Turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon turned the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the lines. French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignier. Imperial Guard recalled. Guard recalled. We shout, "Hurrah for the Emperor!" And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian Guard with their bayonets. Russian Guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their dear emperor.
Alright, so we have all the transition sounds now. Now we're gonna add the rest. This is also a little bit of try and error, but we already have a relatively big sound effects library. Which we can use.
This is Napoleon's.
Now, Alex also gonna help me a little bit, sharing his opinion which sound effects we could use on which clip.
This is Napoleon's.
I guess here I'm gonna use some walking in snow footsteps. This is fine. Yeah, klar.
This is Napoleon's. This is Napoleon's elite force. The
And we probably want to have some voices, some battlefield yelling, maybe some commands or something like that.
Still have the.
Oh yeah.
Not for now, but for generally, do you?
I think I do, yeah.
Okay.
Get it from the main sequence. This one. So.
This is Napoleon's elite force. The Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide.
Should we do the Vive l'Empereur
Late
later?
in the
Right.
peak.
Some of this here.
Single-handedly turn the tide in a battle.
Often it's not always about how distinctive you hear the sound. It's more like for the feeling, for the atmosphere.
Could single-handedly turn the tide. Single-handedly turn the tide in a battle.
Maybe here we can add some battle sounds with cannons or muskets. We need faint cannonades.
Cannonade is favorite.
Single-handedly turn the tide in a battle. Even
Duplicate this one, make it a little bit louder, and we balance it. So I mostly do one where the balance is in the center, so the sound comes right in front of you, and then I have one where I use the it's called the balance function here in Premiere, where you can steuern. You can direct the sound if it comes from your left or your right speaker, and this gives you more of a atmospheric soundscape. Yeah, thank you. So I do one that comes from the left and one that comes from the right, and slightly push them.
By the way, we recommend listening or watching the
single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely.
Because with headphones you start to appreciate the soundscape.
More distinctive, yeah. Now we're gonna add some faint cannonades.
Could single-handedly turn the tide, even though Napoleon could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action.
And we're gonna add some cannonade you can hear more clearly. Just one or two. Just one or two for the feeling. Again, with the balance shift. Do just one on the left. Start.
These die-hard veterans. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turned the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so
Here we have some horses sounds. Horses sounds. Horse sounds. We have a lot of.
Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau, where they
Maybe some horse name. So good. Left. Add this one too. Or to the right. Then we have a soundscape.
Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when
Here we have the Russians advancing, so we're gonna use some of the battlefield yelling. Something like this. Shouldn't be too loud.
danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division
Advancing here and
broke
here.
through the French lines in immediate proximity.
And here is full on battlefield action, so we're gonna also add some musket fire and some cannon fire. Musket, musket, musket. Holy fire.
When Russian soldiers of the 5th Division, the French lines in immediate
Okay, 2 times. 1 on the left.
danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines.
We have the muskets. Now add some of the cannons. Maybe some single musket shots. Also, we're gonna spread them left and right on the speaker. And some
When Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity.
and yeah, gonna add some artillery now. This one.
When Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity.
Here, this is more of a melee skirmish, so we're gonna add some metal clinging sounds to emphasize the bayonet fighting. This, but very decent.
Proximity to the French command post.
And then we fade it out into action.
Lines in immediate proximity.
And of course some stabbing sounds. Some stabbing sounds. Something like this.
Through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon command post. Napoleon himself.
We use here.
Himself.
Use some faint cannoning.
Finally.
Post. Napoleon himself. French command post. Napoleon. Jean Roche-Coignier, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled. We shouted, "Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!"
Maybe here the Vive la France sound?
Yes, exactly.
The bescheuren. Yelling. Ja, das wäre nice.
Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignier, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled. We shouted, "Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!" And our grenadier. Jean Roche-Coignier, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled. We shouted, "Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!" And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets.
Little victory shout here. Stay storm fort.
Fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot.
And maybe some running in snow. We have that. Too slow. Like this, yeah. Again, those footsteps are mostly for atmosphere, so you don't really hear them, but you can feel them, especially when you turn them off, on and off again. You can really hear the difference.
Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot.
Again, one left, right, and just a really small placement. Different placement.
Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot.
Then we're gonna let it fade out.
The soldiers of the
Let it fade into a normal marching sound. Like a grass, like something like this.
The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among
No,
the
no,
fierce.
no, not like this. Here we just need the one.
The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among
Maybe we just need one for this.
the soldiers of the Imperial Guard and among the fiercest and most experienced.
Yelling, but
Yeah, battle sound. Like this, some voila.
The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest
maybe some
and most
drums.
Oh yeah, we have drum. Good idea.
The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their dear emperor.
So, in time. We have 15-minute lives. We can really make it.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even
Okay.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These
Dawn of the
die-hard
Imperial-
veterans guard.
What do you mean?
It's the marching.
Imperial Guard.
Oh, I left it in on purpose because of the
Ah, okay.
soldiers in the back. But
Guard. These die-hard veterans could sing
sing. Sing. Could add here some weather.
Yeah, that's
This.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so with Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled, "We shouted, 'Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!' And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot." The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their dear emperor.
There was
Through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled, "We shouted, 'Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!' And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot."
Yeah, it's those. Delete.
Fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single. The Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their dear emperor. Would give their lives for their dear emperor. Was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke.
Gonna have to make the sound effects a little bit.
yeah, well, then you can leave it up and now it was
I didn't even know. Slice. All right.
can you turn it?
Let's see. Ooh. So I want to do now is just window. So all the sound effects are on my layers, my sound layers A5 to A17. And what I want to do now is redirect all the layers into one mix, and then I can control the volume, the overall volume of the sound effects with just one layer instead of clicking every layer on its own. Called the submix. Mix is overall volume. The submix will roll the sound effects, and then the submix is basically plugged into the mix at the end. Okay, got this. And now we have this submix here. Can make it and make it a little bit more silent.
This is Napoleon's elite force, the Imperial Guard. These die-hard veterans could single-handedly turn the tide in a battle, even though Napoleon rarely put them to action. Not so at Eylau, where their emperor was in imminent danger when Russian soldiers of the 5th Division broke through the French lines in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled, "We shouted, 'Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!' And our grenadier..."
Maybe there.
Battle yelling. So if we add yelling here, we
I mean,
okay.
maybe we can try it out.
in immediate proximity to the French command post. Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled,
The break.
"We shouted, 'Forward!'
This is also too.
to the French command post. Napoleon himself. Jean Roche-Coignet, a grenadier of the Imperial Guard, recalled, "We shouted, 'Forward! Hurrah for the Emperor!' And our grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their grenadiers fell upon the Russian guard with their bayonets without firing a single shot. Firing a single shot. Without firing a single shot. The soldiers of
All right.
I'm on.
firing a single shot. The soldiers of the Imperial single shot. The soldiers of the Imperial Guard were the finest and among the fiercest and most experienced in Napoleon's Grande Armée. They would give their lives for their dear emperor.
Okay. So, the thing that is missing now, I think, battles
Yeah, and the
ending screen. Yeah. Should we build?
yeah to
Oh no, I mean the. Either we have
I can pick.
this. Can we make a distinctive one for those, or
Yeah, we can. Copy. One of the last short. Oh no.
this one?
The French army
That's
No,
not-
it is.
Oh.
Yeah.
We lost him. Yeah, we're gonna finish.
Summarize the short.
Yeah. So the only thing that is missing right now is the subtitles. We already have those prepared from the other. Can't show you now because my frame is frozen. I have to restart the software. But we're gonna finish it another time. But we basically finished it today. Basically, yeah, 2 hours. It's 1 minute short. Yeah. Didn't think we would make it this far. But it's a nice surprise that we actually did it in time. Of course, you can always try and error some more transitions, some more sound effects, play around with the music, stuff like that. But for shorts, you actually just wanna be able to make them in a reasonable amount of time, so you can produce more and create more content in general. So yeah, that's it from me. Alex, if you have some final words.
We hope you liked it. Also the format where we both are in the live stream. And yeah, so basically you saw the whole process from storyboard, from the narration, handover, creating it in After Effects, and then finalizing it in Premiere. And yeah, I think we're gonna try out new formats in the future, so stay tuned. And we're gonna drop the short on Thursday, this Thursday, which will be, I think, the 8th of December. And yeah, so I'm glad especially for the ones who dropped some comments in the live chat, and hope to see you around.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. See you around.
And don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and spread the word.
Watch part 1 and 2. All right. Goodbye.